Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and where we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And in today's episode, the topic is the real reason Nicolas Batum must come off the bench for the Clippers. So that's the topic I want to get into in today's video. But before we get into that, I want you guys to please make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Also, be sure to check out our premium platform that we're launching next week. And also be on the lookout for Dreamerspro.com that we're working on tirelessly this month, that we're looking to try to publish at the end of this month. Anyway, so let me just get into the content here. So I don't know if any of you guys saw the game last night between the Clippers and the San Antonio Spurs. I did, and this topic is really coming from that game, but it's kind of something that we've been talking about on the channel for the last few days, asking the question of who should start between Nicolas Batum or Marcus Morris. So anyway, we all know that Nicolas Batum was the under-the-radar pickup for the Clippers, right? He was one of the off-season acquisitions that Nick Wright was on TV laughing at, making fun of Nicolas Batum. That was Nick Wright. So the Nick Wright supporters, that's your guy, right? He's been pretty much right about Nicolas Batum so far, right? Anyway, Nicolas Batum was waived by the Charlotte Hornets. I think he had a $20-something million contract. I'm not sure the exact figure, and he just couldn't get any minutes. And as he said in a post-game interview, he said things didn't work out. Things did not work out. And listen to Nicolas Batum speak on some of these press conferences. Number one, the guy seems very humble. Number two, he seems very happy to be playing basketball again. He seems very happy to be in a very healthy situation. And it shows you guys, and it shows me as well, that happiness goes a long way, man. Sometimes it's not just about how much money you're making. It's really, are you happy? This guy's a multi-millionaire. Nicolas Batum must have made over $30 million, probably $40 million over his career, but the guy wasn't happy, right? And when you're not happy, it's hard. When you're not doing the things you enjoy and you have money, you're just there. You're like a stone, man. Like, you're just a beautiful stone that is nice to look at, but there's nothing really happening in your life. And you can see that now that this guy's in a situation where he's very happy, you're seeing how he's producing, and that's one of the reasons why Lawrence Frank, I think it's either the president of basketball operations, the GM for the Clippers, really wanted to go out there and get the guy. They really wanted him. Kawhi Leonard was one of the guys that also really wanted to get Nicolas Batum because he's played against this guy and he knows just how versatile and a smart player he is. Now, Nicolas Batum originally is supposed to be the replacement to JaMychal Green, who is currently playing. I think JaMychal Green is playing with the Denver Nuggets, if I'm not mistaken. And he was a player that I really liked. The solid 3-and-D player, power forward, stretch forward, come off the bench, hit threes, play defense, does his role. He does his job really, really well. No drama, no stress, just, a professional. They lost him, so Nicolas Batum was supposed to be the replacement for him. However, given the fact that Marcus Morris has not been playing, I think because of some sore knee, I haven't seen him play one game this season. I think they played, 8 games so far. And I don't know when he's returning. Nicolas Batum has been in the starting lineup. And immediately you can see his impact that he's added with his shooting, his timely shooting, which is also important, which is different than his shooting, his timely shooting, his defense, his playmaking, but overall, his basketball IQ. Whenever Nicolas Batum is on the floor, the Clippers are a smarter basketball team. There's no two ways about it. They are better with making decisions. I like him on the floor as one of the primary decision makers, not necessarily ball handlers, but when he catches the ball, he usually makes the right play. And that's the 8 times or 9 times out of 10, he's usually making the right play. Now, some people have asked whether or not he should come off the bench or start, right? After watching last night's game, it became very clear to me that Nicolas Batum needs to come off the bench. First reason is, given the fact that Paul George did not play yesterday, and the Clippers should have won that game without him anyway, but he didn't play. And yes, the Spurs had their 2 All-Stars in DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge. I know some detractors of the Clippers, some Laker fans, I don't know, not all Laker fans are like this, but some, they're going to say, man, we beat the Spurs. Yeah, but in those 2 games, LaMarcus Aldridge didn't even play. Right? They didn't even play their second All-Star. So, I mean, there's nothing to pump your chest up about. Like, the Clippers played a fully loaded Spurs team with one of the greatest coaches of all time in Greg Popovich. So, give him some credit and some hungry young pups. And those guys had lost 4 straight games. So, they were playing desperation basketball. The Clippers weren't looking at the Spurs like, oh, my God, we got to prove something. But I'm just kind of providing some context. So, some people like to blow things out of proportion. The Spurs didn't even play LaMarcus Aldridge in those games. So, One of the things that Nicolas Batum is going to provide for the Clippers is he's gonna increase the IQ of the bench. I kind of lost my train of thought for a second, because I would prefer him be the primary decision maker than Lou Williams. And I'm gonna get to Lou Williams today, but I don't like the decisions that Lou Williams makes. A lot of times he's either having untimely turnovers, he's making bad passes. Lou Williams has this habit of jumping up in the air, and then when he's in the air, that's when he decides what he wants to do with the ball. Like, he jumps up in the air, and that's when he's deciding, do I want to shoot, do I want to pass? And it usually leads to turnovers. He tends to telegraph a lot of his passes. So for me, I think they need somebody like a Nicolas Batum on the bench to really, really settle those guys down. If you watched that game yesterday, the starting lineup is good enough to play against any starting lineup in the league. And granted, as I said, Paul George didn't play. But the Clippers, whenever they made runs, was with the starting lineups. Whenever they lost their runs and gave up runs, was with their bench unit. It happened like 3 times yesterday. And I think at one point they cut the lead down to 1. I think going into the fourth quarter. And then within the first 3 minutes, that lead ballooned up again to 12 points, because the bench, they lose something on that second unit. They lose something with that second unit. And Marcus Morris Sr. is not necessarily a playmaker. He's a three-point shooter. He's a great mid-range shooter. He's a great defensive player. Those are the things that he adds. And having him on the starting lineup already complements the fact that the Clippers already have 2 great decision makers in Paul George, who's a great decision maker, and Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard got 10 assists last night. So they don't need Nicolas Batum in the starting lineup, to be honest with you. They need him on that second unit. Because he's a bona fide decision maker. I don't trust Lou Williams late in games, right? I'm going to get to Lou Williams later, but as you saw last night, the minute the second unit came in and they didn't have Paul George, now granted, they usually stagger Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard and Paul George are usually in the game for 48 minutes, but sometimes at different stretches. Usually they take Kawhi Leonard out. I think I think they usually take out Paul George first, then they keep Kawhi Leonard in, then they bring in Paul George, and then they take them both out, and then at one point I think they finish off quarters with both of them on the floor together. Last night they didn't have that, right? And since Nicolas Batum was in the starting lineup, the minute he went to the bench because he has to rest, and Kawhi Leonard was out of the game, it was complete chaos, because now it's Lou Williams and Luke Kennard. I like Luke Kennard, but sometimes he seems to press too much. He seems to be in a hurry, tries to force passes, and then that's what leads to turnovers. But if Nicolas Batum was on that second unit, man, I think they'll be much more much more composed, to be honest with you, much more polished on the offensive side of the floor, making decisions, man. So for me, I think last night was kind of the final nail in the coffin that let me know that I would rather have Nicolas Batum coming off the bench than I would have him in the starting lineup, and I would move Marcus Morris to the starting lineup, because that bench unit, man, they got talent, but they're not very good at decision making, man. Even Zubac sometimes kind of fumbles the ball and all of this. So, for my opinion, I think last night was the final nail in the coffin that let me know that I would want Nicolas Batum to come off the bench. So, what I want to know from you guys is, do you think Nicolas Batum should come off the bench with that second unit, or do you think he should stay in the starting lineup? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Again, if you enjoyed the video, please make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out the next video that we have coming up. Once again, this is Charles here from Dreamerspro, wishing you guys an amazing day. Catch you guys on the next episode. Peace.